In this video, I'm gonna go over 10 essential tips that you should know before you visit Bangkok, Thailand. Let's go. All right, guys, so we are walking to 7-Eleven right now. There's so many 7-Elevens. There's like 12,000 of them in Thailand or something like that. Crazy, crazy. But obviously 7-Eleven is not one of the things that you should know about Bangkok. But 7-Eleven does happen to carry one of the first things that you're gonna need when you get to Bangkok, and that is a SIM card. So that's probably one of the first things you noticed when you got off the plane, is that when you turned airplane mode off, either your phone didn't work or you got a text message from your carrier saying that you are now running off of their international roaming plan. And usually most carriers are going to charge you a daily fee for this. The first time I came here, I attempted to use this, international roaming, and my phone, I was lucky if it would work half the time. It was super, super bad, constantly losing service. To think that you're paying $12 a day for that is really freaking sad. So, of course, just like anybody else would do, I opted for a tourist SIM card. And the crazy thing is that my $12 per day after 3 days, that's $36 of horrible service. With DTAC, I can buy a 1 month, 30-day unlimited data, unlimited phone calls, unlimited text SIM card for 990 baht, or around $30 US for a month of good 5G service. I always suggest getting a SIM card. Now, the next thing I want to go over is utilizing the trains. One thing that's very intimidating to people the first time they come here is public transportation, specifically the train, because there's more than one. People can't sometimes read the map very well, or read even any map very well, and they just get intimidated by it and have no idea how to use the train system, and then they end up spending substantially more amounts of money using things like taxis and tuk-tuks and stuff like that. But learning how to use and utilize the trains is going to save you time and money. There's many really good tutorial videos on YouTube that walk you through how to use the train system, how to use the kiosks and stuff like that. Not only that, but a lot of these employees at these metro stations are bilingual anyways, and as long as you can get relatively close to pronouncing the station that you're trying to get to, they're going to be able to figure it out. Plus, you can show them on your phone if you really feel nervous about it, like there's no way that you're going to be able to pronounce it correctly. Just pull up that station on your phone and show it to them, and they'll completely understand it. There's no judgment. These people realize that you're more than likely a tourist and you don't know the local language, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. This is not only a daily, but an hourly or minute occurrence here in Thailand. Now, the next topic that I want to go over is cash and forms of payment. Now, when you go to a lot of places, malls, stores, even some of these little street food vendors, they're going to have online sorts of payment. Some of them are going to take cards and stuff like that, but cash is, boom, almost accepted absolutely everywhere. I've never come across a place that doesn't accept cash. So I always try to carry cash as much as possible. Not only that, but I don't like to use my card anyways, as little as possible, to prevent potentially any sort of card skimmers and stuff like that. So I try to use cash as much as possible. But make sure when you carry cash with you, if you're gonna be going to a lot of these small street food vendors and these kind of outdoor shopping markets where they sell clothes and stuff like that, try to break down your bills. A lot of these vendors don't have enough change to constantly be breaking 1,000 baht bills. And so they may have the change on hand, but the odds of them actually turning down your money in service because you only have 1,000 baht bills are actually pretty high, believe it or not. When you go to an ATM or you convert your money, the first thing I would do before you go out is try to break a couple 1,000 baht bills into smaller bills. Even 500 baht bills are gonna get you significantly farther in terms of somebody wanting to service you and give you change than a 1,000 baht bill. So the next pro tip for you is when you come to Thailand, no matter where you stay, try to eat as much street food and as much food from small family owned and operated, restaurants as possible. Try to avoid the modern day Western influenced restaurants that you see on the frontage of all the main roads. So you'll notice here, just on this corner alone, that across the street we have one of those modern Western influenced restaurants, as well as the steakhouse across the street and this other little cafe over here. And it's not that these are bad places to eat, but the prices are typically significantly higher than the smaller family owned and operated restaurants. And the food many times seems to lack in quality. What I've noticed from experience being here and eating here for a couple of years is that you're pretty much always going to get a better tasting food from street food vendors in the small family restaurants than you are any of those more modern restaurants, and you're also going to get it for significantly less money. Now, one of the next key things before you come over here is to ensure that your devices and chargers, any electronics that you intend on using here in Thailand, are compatible with our power grid. Thailand runs off different voltages, has different outlets than what you would find back in the States or in other parts of the world. So you want to make sure that your device is either compatible with our grid here, or you have the appropriate converter to ensure that you're not going to damage your device or damage the home or hotel or whatever it is that you're renting. Many devices like cell phones and laptop chargers and stuff like that have built-in converters already, and this is not going to be a problem. But there's many things like hair straighteners, hair dryers, hair curlers, and other miscellaneous electronic accessories that potentially won't have a converter, and you can damage your device. It could even melt. But not only that, if worse comes to worse, it can start a fire, and then you may have a big problem. So before coming here, just make sure that all of your stuff is compatible here, and if not, get what you need to be compatible, or potentially source out the right gear when you get here. What's going on, everybody? So it is the next morning. Yesterday I upgraded my video editing software on my computer, and that was probably the worst thing that I have ever done. So it is not impressive at all, and it's the same program, but it's just the latest version. They had an update, and yeah, lots of issues with it, lots of bugs. So I'm going to be downloading the older version back on my computer, going back to that. But yeah, so just a little bit kind of behind schedule, but we're going to jump into the next topic, which is scams. Now, Thailand, just like every other part of the world, nobody is perfect. Everywhere has some sort of scam. And whether those people are based in that country or not doesn't matter, but everybody worldwide is exposed to the risk of potentially getting scammed. And in Thailand, there's lots of different scams. And in my opinion, what I would recommend is that you do some research prior to traveling here. Try to familiarize yourself with some of the most common scams and that way you could potentially avoid them and lose, you know, the risk of potentially losing lots of money and stuff like that. But a couple that I do want to go over specifically would be the taxi and the tuk-tuk scams. Now, when you're traveling around Bangkok and other parts of Thailand as well, and you visit some of the more popular kind of tourist attractions, or, you know, the tourist go-to destinations, you're going to notice a lot of tuk-tuks and taxis parked along the street at these locations. And a lot of the drivers of these vehicles are going to be reaching out to you when you walk by and saying, where are you going? You know, blah, 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 whatever. These people you want to avoid. They're there for a reason. And basically they're trying to find an inexperienced tourist that has no knowledge of the average costs of transportation in Thailand. Now, with the taxis, generally what they're going to do is try to offer you some ridiculous flat rate fixed price to go from point A to point B. But this is actually illegal practice in Thailand, especially in Bangkok. It is law that these taxis are required to charge you by the meter. So if you're going to take a taxi, I personally would suggest that you wave down a taxi that's driving by. Don't grab a taxi that's sitting on the side of the road. And before actually getting in, confirm that they're going to use the meter. And then before you even leave that spot, make sure they turn the meter on and it shows the 35 baht, you know, minimum rate on the screen. Never agree to one of the fixed flat rate charges that these people try to throw out to you, because they're never a good deal. They're always going to be more than what it would cost to actually just go by the meter. Now, with the tuk-tuks, it's a little different, but it's kind of similar to an extent. You know, they're not required by law to follow any sort of meter, and a lot of these are privately owned little tuk-tuks, and they kind of can make up their own rules, but they're definitely out to dig deep in your pockets. And they also have little deals with these local stores where if they can convince somebody to buy something from a store, they're going to get a kickback. And the way that works, and we've experienced it for ourselves firsthand, is they'll try to reach out to you, and you know, maybe you'll say, hey, this is convenient enough, I'm gonna catch a ride with this guy, right? And they're supposed to be bringing you to MBK, or they're supposed to be bringing you to Icon Siam or whatever. Well, all of a sudden they stop out front of some small little shop in the middle of nowhere, not anywhere near where you're actually supposed to be going, and they're like, hey, I want to show you my buddy's shop quick. And here it's some small crappy jewelry store with fake gold and fake diamonds and stuff like that. There's a lot of places like this around Bangkok and other parts of Thailand, and if they can convince you to shop in this place and buy something, that store's going to give them a kickback. And I would just advise that you potentially avoid tuk-tuks altogether. Now, if you're interested in going directly from point A to point B, and you don't want to use taxi services because you're worried about potentially getting scammed with high rates, I would suggest your best options being downloading the Bolt and the Grab app. And you may be wondering, why would I download both? Well, easy, because they're different apps, and you know, on different rides they're going to offer different prices. Sometimes one will be less than the other, and sometimes the other will be less than the other. It all depends on distance traveled and demand at that time. Sometimes there can be a substantial difference. Now, the nice thing about these apps is that the person picking you up is not giving you a price based on your looks or your ethnicity or anything like that. It's actually the app generating the price, you know, according to distance traveled and availability of drivers and stuff like that. So you know that you're not getting scammed. It's kind of like a fair practice. Everyone's gonna get generated the same prices if they pick the same trip at the same time. This is actually one of my favorite means of transportation here in Thailand when I'm not riding the train, because no matter what, whether you can speak Thai or not, it doesn't matter, because you don't even have to talk to the driver at all. You're putting your location of pickup and drop off in on the app. They get all this information up front, they accept the drive, they pick you up, they drop you off, you pay them, and it's that simple. Plus they accept all forms of payment, including cash. By the way, if you ever come to Lumpini Park, you're gonna notice a ton of street cats here. They hang out here. There's probably 1,000 of them in the park full time. During the day, they like to sleep obviously find shade and stuff like that. But pretty cool if you kind of get a little bit of cat fever or you like miss your cats or whatever. Come see them. Now the next thing I want to go over is time management, being realistic in your expectations every day. If it's your first time to Bangkok, after spending a few days here, you're going to realize that Bangkok is crazy. It's very crowded, super busy, high paced, but you have no control over anything. Just like maybe you live in a small town out west, slow paced, and you can kind of pretty much expect how much time it's going to take you to do pretty much anything, right? Well, I'm going to run up to the store and grab some laundry detergent, 6 minutes. Okay, around here that's not the case. Around here it's hard to actually just assume how long something is going to take, and I think a lot of that has to do with the population. There's so many people here, and there's major differences hour to hour in how long it could take you to do some simple things, and you never know when, you know, the train station is going to be congested, and it may take you significantly longer to make it through the line to get your ticket, to get to the kiosk or whatever it may be. And not only that, but some of the trains actually get so full that you might have to skip the next train and jump on the next train because there's long lines to get on the train at every door, and there's no way that all these people are gonna fit. And so you don't have control over a lot of these things, and you'll figure that out the first time you come here. But I always advise people to be realistic in their expectations of the number of things that they're gonna do every day. So if you think something might take you an hour, give yourself at least 2 hours. Try to give yourself double the amount of time that you think it might take. Once you've spent a longer period of time here and you get pretty familiar with kind of the general rush hour here in all the different neighborhoods and stuff like that, then you'll be able to manage your time a lot better and be able to squeeze more things in every day. But at first it's going to be really hard. Now, the last thing and most important thing by far is subscribe to my channel. Ooh, whoa, guilty as charged. But this is important because not only do I post videos up more than once a week giving out free information, but you can reach out to me directly in the comment section. I will give you my WhatsApp number and we could link up. And if you need help with anything around Bangkok, whether it's, you know, help getting a SIM card, help with transportation from the airport, or just anything you want, like a couple days of guided tour around town showing you some of the basics, I'm willing to do all this for free. The best way to make sure that you stay in touch with me is by subbing to my channel. And yeah, I mean, there's not very many people in Bangkok or anywhere that are going to be willing to give you some free help. So everybody's out to get a buck these days. So if any of you need a guide or you need any help with anything around Bangkok, reach out, post a comment. I'm willing to do whatever I can. I can even adjust my schedule to make it work. And your subscriptions and your comments and your views, they mean a lot to the channel. They actually give me a reason to keep going. So I'm excited to continue to grow on YouTube, get more viewers, get to know more and more people. And I think it's going to be an adventure, and I have tons of things planned out over the next year. Right now things are a little slow, but I have some crazy things planned out for next year, so stay tuned. I appreciate the views. I'll post some additional stuff down in the comment section below. I hope to see you again next time. Share the video, like the video. Peace out. Thanks for watching.